Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. Got some mem cards here in the background. I'm one of those rare people who actually really likes these things, so yeah, I enjoy them. So I don't know, I figured I'd throw them up because why not? But today we're talking about investing, and I know that's kind of turned into a little bit of a dirty word kind of in the hobby, but I think at the end of the day we're all kind of investing. Like we're spending a lot of money. This hobby is expensive. You want to make sure that the cards that you're buying and the cards that you're saving and collecting have some value. You don't want to just be collecting a bunch of worthless cards, and if you do at some point want to sell some cards, you want to have some cards with some value behind them. In my kind of perspective is obviously collecting on a budget. I don't have a crazy high budget that I'm spending on, so I'm always looking for those kind of lower end cards that I think will turn into more expensive cards at some point. So that's good. That's kind of what I'm going to be focusing on today. I'm going to be focusing on basketball cards specifically, and I'm going to be talking about some cards that you can get for cheaper now, or I should say players, not necessarily specific cards, but players whose rookie cards you can get for cheaper, and who I potentially see will be growing and turning into kind of bigger stars, and their rookie cards will be worth a lot more money. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and jump in. So I'm going to do 5 kind of ones that I feel like are more obvious, and then I'm going to do 5 other sleepers. So these are all going to be like lower end, cheaper kind of players that you can pick up at great prices, but the last 5 are going to be like the sleepers of the sleepers. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and jump into this. So the first player that I'm going to talk about is Jayson Tatum. His stuff has gone up a lot this year, and Jayson Tatum's kind of the perfect example of when I think it's a great time to buy with players. Jayson Tatum is in this is his 3rd year in the NBA, if I'm not mistaken, and that's when we start to see a lot of the value of players, kind of cards go down. When they're rookies, obviously their stuff is crazy high. Everyone wants to buy rookie cards their rookie season, especially if a player is playing well. And then their 2nd year, you start to see their values drop a little bit. Not necessarily in Luka's case, but in most cases, their value starts to drop a little bit. And then when they get into the 3rd year, they kind of become forgotten. And I took advantage this summer of that kind of phenomenon happening. And Jayson Tatum's stuff was dirt cheap. And then he got into the season, started playing well, and his stuff is kind of going back up. And I honestly think even with his stuff going up, you can still get really great prices on his stuff. I think it's only going to continue to go up. So Jayson Tatum would definitely be a player who I would say, like, buy now or regret it later, honestly. Yeah, moving on to the next player. I think this player is in his 4th year in the NBA, 4th or 5th. I'm not totally sure, but that would be Kristaps Porzingis. So KP was really struggling down in New York for a majority of his career. Now he's in Dallas, and I think he's in a great spot, honestly. That's why I'm looking to buy more stuff. I bid on a PSA 9 on this, and I won. I bid on a Prism rookie of his as well, and just ended up losing it at the last second. But I'm definitely investing in this guy right now. I think he's in a great spot. I think him and Luka have a great future together. I'll just be honest, I foresee them staying together for a long time and potentially making long playoff runs and potentially even winning some championships. So I think him being in that spot is really, really great for him. Seems like he's really happy there. He's flourishing. The team's playing really well. Well, they were playing really well. And yeah, his stuff is still relatively cheap. I bought this card online. I think I bought it for $6 or $5 or something like that, and his Prisms are going for $20 or something like that. So yeah, really still like a really good deal that you can scoop up right now, and eventually will be worth a lot of money. So then we're moving on to Michael Porter Jr. So this one's kind of a lot of people are talking about this guy, and I think rightfully so. He's got all the talent in the world. He's in a tough spot in Denver because he's playing with a really good team who is making a playoff push and making a championship push. So he's kind of getting left behind on the bench, but I think we've seen flashes of greatness from him, and if he had more of an opportunity, I think he could really flourish into a great player. All the tools, all the potential, just needs more of a chance, and hopefully eventually he gets it. But his stuff is just obviously just really, really, really cheap. So there's low risk, high reward with this guy here. So yep, check him out if you haven't. Grab some of his stuff whenever you get a chance. The next player is another player in his 3rd year in the NBA, and that's Lonzo Ball. So obviously he had a lot of hype as a rookie. Was kind of disappointing. Definitely was a disappointing second season, and now that he's in New Orleans, is kind of revitalized his career for sure. Has really developed a good shot, and that's a good sign for me when I see a guy be able to take a part of his game that needed improvement and really improve it. Just shows kind of his work ethic and how much he, the game means to him. And I think being with Zion is going to be great for him. I'm not going to say they're the next Stockton and Malone, but they definitely have a connection. He's really flourishing in that role, and I think he's going to continue to feed Zion for many years. And as long as he can continue to work on his shot and improve that, he has all the other tools. He's a great defender. He's great off the dribble. He can see the floor really well. I see a lot of upside with this guy, and his stuff just fell off a cliff after his second season. So you can grab his stuff for still really, really, really cheap. So yeah, check out Lonzo Ball. Another player who kind of is below the radar right now is Donovan Mitchell. I think he's a really great player out in Utah. I think the fact that he's in Utah, he doesn't get as much attention as he should. I think he's a borderline superstar, potential superstar type player. And I think I see that franchise being in the playoffs for a long time and eventually kind of contending for a championship. So I really like Donovan Mitchell, and I really like his prices on his stuff. So definitely check that out. I think that's a solid investment. So these are the top 5 here. I think these are more obvious. I think most people are like, yeah, no duh, bro. Like we know that. I'll throw another bonus player in there, DeAaron Fox. I live here in Sacramento. I'm a big believer in this guy. When he's healthy, I think he's one of the best guards in the NBA. He's pretty much unstoppable when he's healthy. So yeah, and his stuff is really cheap as well. So I'll throw that as a bonus player in there. So those are kind of the more 5, I would say, obvious players. So they're still slept on, but a lot of people kind of, most collectors have picked up on those guys. So I'm going to throw out 5 other people that I think are even more below and have a lot of potential. So one of those players would be Shai, Gilgeous-Alexander. I really, really like him, even though I have a hard time pronouncing his name. I like him. I like his role down there in Oklahoma City. I think he's found his home for sure. He's a guy who can score, who can do a lot of different things on the court. I like his potential. And again, his stuff is really, really cheap. He's overlooked in that draft. So, he's a solid player to invest in. I got this Prism card for really cheap. I don't know how much, less than $5. So that's crazy, because I think that's going to be worth a lot more money one day. Another player is Pascal Siakam, another guy who's just kind of forgotten up in Toronto, doing his thing. He's been hurt a little bit this year, but I think when he's playing at his best, he's a borderline, if not a superstar in the NBA, and his stuff is so cheap, man. Like, he doesn't have the huge personality of some of the other guys, some of the other superstars in the NBA, but I think a really great player, and I think someone who's really worth investing in, because like I got this, this select rookie for $4. So if you're like me, if you're collecting on a budget, if you're just like, you don't want to invest a bunch of money in cards, but you want to have some solid investments, like look at these types of guys like Pascal Siakam. Like, people just sleep on him. His stuff is super cheap, and I think at the end of the day, he's gonna have a great career. So definitely looking at that. Let's go with this next guy is Buddy Hield. So Buddy Hield's another guy here in Sacramento that I think is, even though he obviously, I don't know if a lot of people don't know, earlier this year he was the fastest player to 800 3-point shots made in league history. So he passed Steph Curry, passed everybody. He's on track to being the all-time leading 3-point shooter in the history of the league, and no one really knows that. Like he's setting all kinds of 3-point records. He won the 3-point contest this year. He's a dead-eye shooter. He's showing no signs of slowing down anytime soon. This guy will shoot it as soon as he touches it. I think when you look at him and if this team, if the Kings team could get things kind of together and get, some deep playoff runs, he would definitely be more well known, but because he's here in Sacramento and they haven't been playing well, he's a little bit below the radar. But I think at the end of the day, you're looking at a guy who could have, like, you know, all-time great three-point shooting numbers. So his stuff is just absolutely dirt cheap. So I would say, like, take a chance on this guy. It's not a big risk, but I think this stuff is going to go up because I think the team's getting better, and more people are going to start realizing what this guy's doing and realizing that he's on pace to set all kinds of three-point shooting records. So that's Buddy Hield there. We got two more guys here. Let's go with Jaylen Brown. So another guy who he's just kind of in a great spot up there in Boston. They've got a great team, got a really bright future. They're going to be making a lot of deep playoff runs and potentially some championship runs. And he's a mainstay. He's a main player. He's a big part of what they do. He improved a lot this past season. He improves every year. That's something that you want to look at when you're looking at players to invest in. Are they getting better every single year? This guy is getting considerably better every year. I'm looking for him to be a multiple-time All-Star and a huge part of that Boston team that I think could potentially contend for a championship at some point. So this is a solid investment. Another guy whose stuff is just really cheap because he just kind of flying under the radar. And the last player I will throw out there is Bam Adebayo. I really like this guy's game. He's super versatile, can do pretty much everything on the court. If you watch the Heat play, like, this guy's bringing the ball up the court half the time, and he's, I don't know how tall is he, 6'10"? Yeah, he's 6'10", so he plays pretty much every position. Super skilled. Again, he's kind of flying under the radar. A lot of people, like, he was a first-time All-Star this year, and he's someone who just keeps getting better every year, and that's definitely a positive sign for a player like this with this much size and this much skill. To be getting better every year is a plus. Yeah, he's crazy good, and he's another guy who just hasn't really caught on in the hobby, and people are just sleeping on him. So if you see this guy's stuff, grab it. It's super cheap. I got this Prism again. I probably got it for less than $5. So yeah, that pretty much does it for this this video. Hopefully you guys were able to get some good information from this stuff. I do primarily basketball. I do have some cool ideas for football, so maybe I'll do a football one as well. But basketball is it's my favorite sport, so I know the most about basketball. But yeah, again, hopefully you guys got some value from this, and if you did, please feel free to hit that like button. If you would like to subscribe to the channel, we'll be doing more stuff like this. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and enjoy the rest of your day.